The playoff race is in full swing. We're here to break it down in each of the four leagues on this week's episode of the Indie Ball Report podcast. We're back, episode number 335 of the Indie Ball Report podcast. It's race week for us at Watkins Glen, and it's race week in each of the four major leagues. And if that doesn't get you popping batteries like Zim packets, I just don't know what's going to get you juiced. How you doing, Ryan?
It's Indie Ball Report. We're racist. Or no, we like races. That's it. We're a fan of racing. There we go. Got it. Susie Explorers sure steal a lot of bases, though. They're really fast.
Way to loop that first sentence with that back sentence and bring it together to be one questionable sentence. I appreciate that.
I just like to see what you're going to edit.
Do you want to jump into playoff races, or do you want to discuss the poll discourse, which has kicked up surprisingly largely this week?
Yeah, it's a good vibe. I will say...
No, the vibes aren't on there. There's no point.
I do have a... At some point, I'm just going to reserve my conversation point on something that I do have an Atlantic League playoff race topic that involves my hatred of the 2F system again. So I can drop that in whenever. I'm just going to let you know that I have it. I'm not going to go fully down the rabbit hole on it, but I'm going to have to point it out so we're all ready for it. But yeah, we can start wherever you want to.
All right. And then why don't we go ahead and we just kind of begin in the playoff races, and we'll wind up getting to that 2F system discussion and at some point in there, and then we'll tack on the poll discussion towards the end of it. That just feels like the natural point of it.
Cool. All right. Sure, man. Your pod.
All right. Well, let's stop being stupid in the Frontier League. They got like 25 games left. And generally, I think we have our playoff pictures settled here. It's a matter of getting matchups squared away here. At least in the Atlantic, which quite frankly, I may just start calling the Eastern Conference because it makes more sense. So screw y'all. Over there in the East, Sussex, Quebec are division leaders. New York and Tri-City are in the wild card. Ottawa technically still alive in the wild card hunt, but they do have some ground to make up sooner than later here. And seeing as they just moved Grant Larson, who had been really finding a resurgence as of late, for Paven Parks, I am willing to hazard a guess that they may be pulling back on the reins here.
Chat, are we cooked? Yeah.
Yeah, because let's see, what team would they be hunting down right now? It'd be New York.
Yeah, it would be New York. And I mean, New York's not blowing everybody out of the water currently, but they are still 5
games up in the wild card?
5 games up in the wild card over them, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they do have a series upcoming this weekend, so a week from now. They will play the Titans, and then they have another home series against them. I know they may have one on the road as well. So there's games left to be made up there, but it's a lot of work that's got to get done sooner than later. The Miners are taking advantage of the fact they have 6 in a row against Down East.
Yeah, boys, Down East a train wreck right now.
Yeah.
They put New York in a spot.
Certainly are. And then you have 3 against Schaumburg, and then 3 more against Down East. If you're the Miners right now, things are lining up pretty well. I mean, really, it's the Schaumburg series, the New York series, and I think they may have
3 against Quebec as well. Yeah. But who knows if Quebec's got foot off the gas at that point?
Yeah. So realistically, let's call it 9 difficult games left, and they've played. Quick maths, if you add in the 9, they'll get up to 85. So that'd be 11 games against teams that, quite frankly, they should be beating. So what they go called 7-4 in those games they should win, and then 3-6 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, 55 wins might just do it.
Yeah, agreed. Dude, Boulders and Boomers played a wild one tonight.
Well, that's serious.
You see that?
Electric. I didn't see the full game, no.
Oh, bro. 5-0 Boulders after scoring the 6th and 7th. Schaumburg hit some of the 7 spot in the 7th, 2 in the 8th to make it 9-5, and then lets up 3 runs in the 9th. and I believe has the tying run at the plate and then ends it with, or the tying run on second, and they ended up holding on for a 9-8 win. Meanwhile, Washington kicked the hell out of Gateway tonight, 14-1. Quebec beat up Ottawa 11-3. So like, there's some telling results in this potentially. Florence finally lost a game again. So things have kind of normalized a little bit as
they're returning to where they should be. Nature is healing. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like it feels like in the eastern half of the league, things are starting to get settled in, and it's a matter of Tri-City's probably going to be your lead wild card, which means New York's probably going to wind up being your second wild card. So yeah, Quebec should be your number one overall seed. That means they'll get the lowest seed remaining. Really, what this comes down to is, can New York get past Tri-City to get a more favorable matchup in round one?
Yeah, and it's a shame because I like that race. It's annoying to think that's just for a better matchup a little bit, but I guess that's what it is. Can't be picky, but yeah, that'll be interesting. Boy, did they got across that line of we took the spot and then immediately cooled off, which is kind of a bummer because I thought we were coming down to something really interesting there, but alas. I feel like we talk about this every year. I feel like everyone's playoff system's just a little bit off. Like just keeps us from some of the better playoff races every year. And not every year. I know that the American Association's had some good playoff races in recent years, but like last two have been pretty rough. So I think Frontier is kind of also at that point where it's like, oh, so close this year, but just not quite.
Yeah, there's just not quite enough depth to make it there.
Which that happens, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like in the case of New York, at least, like they were doing so good. And then when you get bumped off in 2 or 3 by Evansville.
Yeah, dude, cannot have it.
Exactly. And now you got to make up ground against Schaumburg by winning these next 2. Yeah. Because then at least you can walk out of that road trip 3-3. You could say like, okay, well, pretend we swept Schaumburg or we swept Evansville and then got blown out by Schaumburg. And that's a little bit more, respectable. You end on a higher note too. But when you got 4 here against Tri-City coming up, those are 4 really big games you got to have. You got to have those games. Ottawa back again for Tri-City on the road. The 3 against Down East will be a nice palate cleanser. And then Ottawa, New York. I mean, like I said, there's 6 more against Ottawa, so the Titans still can make up that ground. It's just going to be a really tough scene for them. And on the flip side here, the Sussex series could still mean something. They could, in theory, manage to, get hot, beat up on these teams that they need to beat up on, and have that last series mean something to where you could steal the division. But more important than all that is the 8 games left you have against the Valley Cats. Those got to turn to wins, and they got to turn to wins quickly.
Agreed. Yeah, that's pretty concise.
Quebec has gotten a little bit more back on track as well, so it's good for them.
They're feeling a little more like themselves all of a sudden.
Yeah. Again, was this just like a handbrake situation? Who's to say? Every year I say I'm not going to fall for it, and I fall for it. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Going back, though, to the Midwest conversation we were just having, particularly about Gateway, this thing is all still open. Gateway had the division. Now they're fumbling the division. Very bad team as of late. And they should still be safe playoff-wise. I mean, technically, Mississippi, Joliet, Florence are kind of in the picture. That's being generous.
I mean, the closest team to the wild card is Mississippi, who's 5.5 out. And they would have to do something to catch Washington.
Which seems unlikely.
Yeah, they do play 3 against Washington, so maybe. I mean, their schedule isn't impressive. They have Joliet, Evansville, then Lake Erie, that's tough. 4 against Florence, and then you got Washington. Gateway, but Gateway could be put off the gas at that point, and then Windy City. So, I mean, the schedule has got the desired squishiness while still having some head-to-heads there, but it's not going to be an easy road considering just how inconsistent they've been kind of down the stretch run here. They just haven't been able to piece together enough consistent performances. Again, I mean, it's a new team. That's sort of the depth issues and some inconsistency is what we expect to see from teams that are new. I mean, this is, I think, already been a better performance than we would have expected from them. So it's hard to complain. But yeah, I mean, they've just had some weird ones, like just struggling to get runs across on Schaumburg for a few days, and then all of a sudden they pop them for 12. And then they go to Gateway and they put up 9 runs over 3 games against Gateway, but still managed to pitch their way to a win there. So it's like a lot of that. So it's just tough for them to really put them together, I think. And I'm talking about how, they got Lake Erie coming up and they just get swept pretty convincingly by Lake Erie already once. So yeah, it's a tough road, but I say that's probably the one outside shot still available.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's more of a jockeying position because that is the one thing that makes the Midwest more interesting.
Agreed.
Than the Atlantic is there's no division crown really set yet. Like, it's still very possible that you have a division leader in either Schaumburg or Lake Erie that goes from, we're going to be the number 1 overall seed to the 4 seed.
Yeah, true.
And you could really see everything kind of swip on its head really quickly here. I mean, you have Washington is finally starting to field themselves again. Mm-hmm. They're down 2 back, though, of Lake Erie, who's keeping the pace right now. Flip side there, Schaumburg and Gateway have been pretty even keel for the last month and a half or so. And then Gateway went on a downturn. Schaumburg kind of just kept the boat afloat. And now there you are. Things have switched there. So everything in the Frontier is in flux in the sense of we don't know how the matchups wind up being, but we know who's going to be there.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
If I have it correct, Schaumburg will be playing Washington. Lake Erie would be playing Gateway.
Okay.
And the Atlantic, you would have Quebec playing New York and Sussex playing Tri-City.
Okay. So how do we think the Midwest would go real quick?
Midwest?
Yeah.
I feel like it's tough to say because I'm thinking like the hottest team going in is probably your best bet, and they're all fairly close together that no one has a significant advantage. Mm-hmm. I kind of lean Washington based off experience, and I think they may be a more well-rounded team than, say, a Lake Erie. And I understand, like, they're going to wind up with Schaumburg there, but Schaumburg hasn't exactly looked the most impressive either.
Mm-hmm.
So that certainly sets up a position where if you had Washington, Lake Erie, which I think is very well possible, I like Washington a little bit more, although admittedly it's fairly even there. I think Gateway is a team you kind of immediately have to throw out until they prove otherwise. And Schaumburg is really the wild card element here. Like, if they can start playing their best baseball, I think they are the team in the Midwest. But I just don't know if they are going to play that again this year.
Yeah, something in me wants to say Lake Erie just because Lake Erie keeps surprising me and I keep doubting them. But Washington is kind of staring at me. Like, sure. And I'm not overly convinced by whenever they lose ground that it's like, this is a significant issue with this ball club. I'm more like, well, yeah, all right. Like, but they bounce back so quickly that we're like, all right. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that Central Division might have the key.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which way.
With Lake Erie, I'm still not overly impressed with certain elements of their team. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I almost want them because they're different,
Yeah,
this
I agree.
Isn't the same group of teams that we've always gotten here. But like, keep in mind, this is still a group that's collectively hitting below 260 as a team. Mm-hmm. And has had power-wise, less than 60 home runs through 74 games.
Yeah,
and
true.
If you take out Knott's 10 home runs, it drops off significantly. There's no one else.
A really good point. If you could just navigate that part of the lineup for a series, you can really put them in a position.
Yeah, and like if you want to get down to it, the guys that have really been here for the bulk of the season, not a single one's hitting above 300. Now I know batting average is what it is, but to me, it's just like I'm looking at guys here, and you're not even drawing a lot of walks here. 52 games, 18, 65, 28. 62, 25, and it kind of goes on and on and on. Again, Knotts is kind of like the guy there, and if you want to say Dixon as well, because he draws some walks, he gets on base in 68. He's had 36, which is still like a higher number than that, but like, you know, is what it is there. I just see a team that strikes out more than they walk. When they get on base, they're not really stealing a lot. Gomez is, but like no one else is really doing a lot in that category to the point where you got to be concerned about them. And so you're not getting on base much. You're not doing much when you get on base. That's a concern to me when we get into postseason play. Now, of course, all you need is a couple games where you really do produce. But at the same point in time here, I'm looking at this team as it's constructed. I'm just seeing a lot of depth pieces that just aren't really quite there.
Okay. Now, if I pull your attention to the Atlantic, where we have Sussex, New York, Quebec, and Tri-City, do you take Quebec or do you take the field?
Before I answer that, I do just want to say one thing so I'm not overly negative about Lake Erie. I do think their starting pitching is elite for what they're going to need it for. You're really going to a three-man rotation for at most. They have 4 really dynamic starters, which I really, really like, and I think their bullpen's phenomenal too. So I think if they can go ahead and just get offense in 1 or 2 games, particularly early on, then they're a problem to have to deal with.
The funny thing is I think their offense is a little vulnerable in the context of a series, and I think their pitching is better in the context of a series.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they can run if you go to a 3-man rotation, which in theory in a 5-game series you could do.
Right.
And certainly in the 3-game series, I mean, they're set up perfect for that. They'll be great in that regard, but they still need to put up runs. And like, yeah, that's where I'm like, you get another team's 1 and they shut you down for 7 innings. What can you do against that bullpen in 2 innings?
No, I agree. I'm with you there.
Yeah. I mean, James Bradwell proved my point 2 nights ago.
Oh God. Yeah.
About you can't win a 0-0 ball game.
Yep.
So, back to the main point of Quebec of the field. I feel like Quebec's the most vulnerable they've been. I feel like Quebec's at the most vulnerable they've been since they joined the Frontier League. That being said, until they don't do it, you keep betting on them to do it. So I take Quebec because I'd rather bet on the team that's won, 3 in a row, and then be wrong that they didn't win a 4th, than say, the guys that have done it every year for 3 years running aren't going to do it this time. Like, at a certain point, it becomes Charlie Brown in the football. So, like, I'm not going to miss the football this time. No, it's going to be Quebec until it's someone else. That being said, like I pointed out at the beginning of the week when they posted the graphic with if the playoffs start today thing, I do think teams like New York and Tri-City are uniquely poised this year. They're hotter, they're moving in, and I think they can hang. It's just, and Ottawa will tell you this, Washington will tell you this, Evansville can tell you this, and to a lesser degree, Schaumburg can tell you this. Quebec's a very difficult team to kill. You can lead them for 8 innings and be up by like 3 or 4 runs in the 9th. And then next thing you know, it's just like base hit, home run, walk, throwing error, home run. And you're like, oh, wow, my lead's gone, and they're celebrating a home plate. So,
yeah, they don't really let you breathe is the thing.
Yeah. They build momentum as things go along here.
I will point out they are 4-8 on the season against Tri-City.
Nothing left against them, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that is, one of the teams that they're likely to see.
Well, I mean, in total fairness, it's tough to compete against a team that's pitching staff has such great cardio like Tri-City.
Jesus. We'll see. I still lean Quebec, but I do think Tri-City, something about that matchup, which I think is worth diving into at some point, is got Quebec sort of twisting at on the end of the line a little bit here at times. So that, if you're them, you're hoping that Tri-City runs into an issue maybe in their first round matchup before you have to deal with them. But
which we don't talk about this guy because he didn't play for like a third of the season, but like Ruben Castro is hitting over 443.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's cooking right now. I've been noticing that.
Only 19 Ks too, so it's like 31 walks there. It's just like what?
Yeah,
10 stolen bags, just like casually, like
just putting him in the sprinting through like stat collecting this year. Like, yeah. Yeah, I am.
Ball's a catcher too adds so much depth to it.
I know.
Like,
yeah, it's a different conversation entirely, but I haven't. He's been coming up more and more in my sort of deep dives into what's going on day to day.
That and Rollins, dude, we haven't talked about, even though he's probably one of the best relievers in the league with the sub 1 ERA, 10 walks at 44 Ks.
Yeah, it's hard to get to everything. I feel bad because we've talked before about like, oh, we should talk about this guy more. I'm like, dude, we talk about so much, and I'm still like, yeah, it's almost like covering 52 teams at a time is a losing proposition. Yeah.
Who would have thought that two people covering 52 teams is not a great strategy for getting everything?
And like basically going off of vibes, no structure to it.
Yeah, but the vibes always provide the answers. Also, like my biggest concern with Quebec, though, and we'll keep them moving and whatnot after if we get through it, but it's just the starting pitching isn't very deep right now. After they lost Perez, it really took a hit. Allman's still here. You know, he's great. But then there's a drop off. And like, you need at least one other guy you can turn to and feel good about in a start. And I don't necessarily know they have that, right? Like, Saruki is, he's fine. He's a guy that I would have liked as like a game 3 starter. But I guess you can make him work. And then it's just after that, a bunch of guys where I'm like, I don't love it. And it feels like if you need to do one kind of bullpen game in the playoff, you could do it. But to repeatedly do it, I just don't know if you have the depth for it.
Assuming you're doing Sakurai on that one, but I feel you.
Sakurai, yeah.
I got you. Yeah, Gollert is a bit of a stretch as a 3 option.
Yeah. Like, if you wanted to say use him as an opener for like 2 or 3 innings, I think you could do that.
Yeah. And the bigger issue is like it's not just because there's times when you can put in a 3 or 4 guy and like he'll handle business. Like, you know what I mean? Like he'll give up the 3 spot but he'll give you the innings you need and you can compete with it. Like, because I'm looking like, well, what's honestly, I don't know what I was thinking of because I was like, well, what's, Ty Buckner been up to? Ty Buckner, his last 3 outings were 5 innings, 3 innings, 2 1/3 innings, giving up 6, 7, and 5 runs respectively. So it's like, I mean, it's not really a solution there. So I mean, like, it leaves you with Harley Gollert, who just got absolutely, he's had rough goes.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a guy that can definitely get shellacked.
But like against playoff teams, he's good, not great so far this year. So, yeah, I agree. That's,
Yeah, I mean, like the solution in my eyes is almost like you run with the 2 guys you have. You make a bet on at least splitting those, hopefully winning both of them, and then you roll out. At the very least, you need them both to not tax your bullpen. And then you open it with Gollert for the first 2, maybe 3 if you can push him. Go Buckner for 2 innings there, and then Wright Parra for 2. And that can at least get you through about 7 innings. And then you can hand it over to, the more frontline guys.
Yeah, and then and talk about where the vulnerability is. I mean, Tri-City has a kind of clear 4 that can compete,
Yeah.
Marinchak, Wilford, Klein, still. Like even a Manzano would be, I think, the 3 or 4 option on Quebec, and he's the 5 for Tri-City right now. So, yeah, that's definitely something where it's like you guys are gonna have to, not saying they can't navigate that, but it is one of those things where it's like you are gonna have to. It will be a challenge you have to figure out now. Like you're gonna have to every 3rd game of the playoffs essentially have to piece one together.
I mean, you could do it. Dodgers did it, but like the
So
death
funny. The
element.
Dodgers are the example in that one.
But
All
like,
that money and still like we have no healthy pitchers left. Almost like it's you anyway.
is Reggie
Different
Harris in this
conversation.
organization?
Different conversation about Los Angeles. Good Lord. Anyway.
Yeah. So fun
Wait,
series this
throwing
week.
max effort pitches every pitch. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Some fun series to watch for this week, just in the Frontier League around playoff races. Tri-City, New York this week. Schaumburg, Sussex this week.
Mhm.
Lake Erie Gateway this week. And then we also have Washington at Quebec. That one's not directly playoff related, but it's just two playoff teams that could really use some wins going up against each other. So interesting series to watch.
Yeah. Frontier League, at least giving some drama, even if it doesn't have direct consequences to, who's going to be in the playoffs.
If we're talking about leagues without drama,
No.
the American.
Yeah.
We're going to next. The association has 24 games left in the slate. And I mean,
It
my
is
Lord.
over, and it's been over. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, like right now, here's our playoff races. In the East, we're trying to figure out, is Kane County or Cleveland going to be the 3 seed?
Mm-hmm.
Not that it really even matters, because guess what? The top 2 pick their opponent. And really, once Lake Erie picks, it doesn't matter, because Chicago gets what's left over. And Lake Country's clearly running away with this.
Yep.
So that's over in the East. Meanwhile, in the West, the 4 teams are set. There's an 11.5 game gap between number 4 and number 5. And so you have the only team in this league with over 50 wins, 5 games clear of the next best team in Fargo, which admittedly is extremely hot right now.
Yeah.
But even still, with this 9-1 stretch and fairly mediocre baseball from Sioux City as of late, they're still 5 back with 24 to play.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're wondering, it's because Winnipeg has absolutely had the wheels fall off and is 11.5 games out of the playoffs in the West. Technically speaking, you could say Milwaukee's the reason Milwaukee's not dead yet is because they are playing Kane County right now. But, I mean, they handled business tonight. So realistically, they could be within 3 games of a playoff spot by the end of the weekend, which would be, they got King County maybe at the right time here. So, hey, but that's really the only race I'd say you could argue is live. Also funny that Gary is about a win away from being a week out of the playoffs right now.
Which, can we just point out that
the boys are going.
Jeff Isom's cooking.
Hated Lamar. I'm not saying they hated Lamar. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there is a distinct difference, at least, and I'm not saying it's a vibe thing. Could just be better.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I've been saying their pitching is significantly better than it was, and that is a pre-manager change thing. It might just now be hitting a little bit, literally.
Yeah, I mean, like, Gary's in. I'm not going to do a Gary conversation right now.
Not going to do it, but it is a fun side thing to watch when the playoff race is dead, which it basically is.
Yeah,
dude, I don't know. Like, I am going to say, if you want drama, you better be rooting for Milwaukee this weekend. Sorry, King County, but
Look, here's the thing. I'm rooting against everybody over there. I mean, like, I don't mean this is
like
you
deserve. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, and that's all I'm saying here. I say I like the association. Quite frankly, Sioux City is kind of like one of my more favorite teams to watch right now because they're exciting, and like they get on the base, they're going to steal something. There's going to be action happening.
Obviously, just set the record.
Yeah, and like Fargo's playing really well. Kansas City's starting to return back to their pre-slump look. And like Sioux Falls needs to figure it out and quit.
Right.
But even still, like there's exciting and good baseball to be had in this league still. Like even the Doghounds, like while not blowing everybody away, are still a very interesting team to watch. They're not boring. It's just that the playoff race is so boring and I can't be moved to care about a team that is in the playoffs and 6 games under 500.
That's true. And I will also take a moment to point out, speaking about below 500, Milwaukee should feel pretty lucky that they are still somehow in the playoff conversation right now in 5th, because what conversation we're not having about them now is the fact that while we can dunk on Winnipeg and Lincoln for being uncompetitive in the West, Milwaukee has the same record as Lincoln, who is in last place in the West, and they get the benefit of playing Gary in their own division. So, like, we could be having a conversation about how Milwaukee for the second straight year is kind of trash. And we're not. We're talking about, hey, somehow you're still in it. So maybe the playoff system did its job. But, boy, I cannot take seriously. We're all competing to see who's not going to Cleburne. And basically, winning the East Division means you get to play a below 500 team and not go to Texas. Vibes.
You're not wrong.
I mean, we're looking down the barrel of half of the playoff teams in the East Division being below 500, which is not good. Frankly, we're not far off from 3 because Chicago's above 500. So, and they've lost 2 more against Lake and they've Country. Lost 8 out of 10. So,
which, by the way, who does Chicago play next? Out of strict curiosity.
Oh boy, let's see.
I
got
Gary.
Gary, I'm rooting for you. Let's get weird.
How funny
would it be? In a row, ripping them off.
How funny would it be? Because there's clearly going to be at least 1, probably 2, even 3 sub 500 teams in the postseason. If Gary just shot up here, went crazy, won I don't know, 45 games, just a torrent pace to end the year. Steal the last playoff spot.
Oh man, I would
love that.
Dude, it'd be a movie. I mean, I would travel to Gary to see the games and make content of it immediately before anyone else can. I would be pretty excited. I gotta be honest.
Yeah,
it's the when the Phillies got rid of Girardi and then put in Rob Thompson and they immediately won 8 in a row. And everyone, and literally, Bryce Harper said everything except, yeah, we freaking hated that guy.
That's the thing that gets me about this playoff system, man, is I just don't like sub 500 teams in the postseason. And the problem is there's no acceptable way of fixing that this year because there's only 6 teams above 500.
See, I think you could do it and I know it's complicated because that means your playoff system is kind of in flux, but because you're picking the day after the season who you're going to play, it's already in flux, hard to sell tickets. So I would propose something I've said before in the pod, which is make it like bowl eligibility. You are only, if you are at a certain record, you are allowed to into the playoffs, and then we can structure it. I like that vibe.
This is in my playoff format video at the cut line, where you need to meet a certain winning percentage to be eligible for the postseason. And if you didn't, you just didn't make it in. And if you have an odd number, like you have, let's say 5, you just apply the appropriate amount of buys to get you to where you need to be.
Side note, Fargo's won 12 of 13 and they're 17-3 in their last 20.
Kind of cooking.
Dude, I put them at number 3 in my ranking this week.
They're going to shoot up in mine because there's a lot.
They're really good. And the fact that if they continue to handle Susie, the argument against this is playing Lincoln, King County, Winnipeg, Lincoln, Kansas City, who's all right, and then Sioux Falls. Actually, that's where it ends at the Sioux Falls series.
See, here's the only issue, though, is and I think this is more of a problem that we have to address going forward, ranking association teams. Is just you can make the who they play argument, but when well over half this league is sub 500,
I agree.
You're
playing the schedule in front of you, and unfortunately, it maybe just means because when you say when you try to neglect the who did they play argument, it's you still got to rank them. But this is kind of the opposite in my mind. It's I just think the whole league gets ranked less. I mean, we only had 2 ranked American Association teams this week. I think it was the least they've had all season. It's just and I've gotten a little bit of feedback before, and this is a different conversation, but just for context for listeners who are American Association fans who look at the top 10 and go, how you have so few teams in the top 10, it's because it is hard to, the American Association has the funny habit of any given Sunday type of things where even Gary before they got hot here would just rip 2 off on some team randomly. And you're it would never fail. Cleveland would have an interesting 6-game run of murdering teams and then get clipped by Gary 2 out of 3. And you're how did this happen? Or, something along those lines. But also we're talking about how Lake Country is running away with it, but is it impressive when Lake Country has 4 under 500 teams in the division. Sure, you could say, well, what are the under 500 teams records if they don't have to get beat up by Lake Country? But not that much better, you know? So it's a self-perpetuating thing until the tide kind of rises across the league. And right now it's struggling. And we are going to have a conversation at some point about starting to see a bit of a dip in indie ball talent. I think it's starting to bite the American and the Atlantic. And I think we're going to start to see it spread. The last talent shortage hurt the lower leagues first. I think we're starting to see it hurt the top leagues first this time.
Well, I think it's just the same shortage that's just now working its way through the system there.
Partially, but boy, am I hearing a lot about visas right now. And I think there is some of that. But I do think also we're having an issue with guys choosing not to play indie ball, and that's going to be a larger conversation in the off season. But for now, if you're wondering why so few teams in the American Association, that's kind of why.
Yeah. Unless you have anything else that's really pressing on the playoff front, I will segue into the poll conversation.
I will, just out of curiosity, ask who do you think makes out of each side of this bracket right now? Like, who makes out of the West and the East in your mind?
Lake Country easily in the East. Nothing else is impressive over there. And then in the West, that one's tougher. Just because that's where all the talent really is here. I lean Fargo or Sioux City as, of course you pick the top two. Yeah, I pick the top two because Kansas City was not really performing for a while. And now we have Sioux Falls, which is struggling against, let's see, I know they've lost to some lesser teams and now they're losing. Yeah, they struggled against Winnipeg and they struggled against Kansas City too, I believe. So, yeah, they struggled against Kansas City. They got swept by Gary. It's pretty much either the extremely hot Fargo team or the clearly the best team in the league, Sioux City team.
And of course, tonight didn't give too much of an indication because it was a 7-6 game and Fargo, scored 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th to get it done. But I do take something from the fact that Fargo got a rested Sioux City bullpen and handled it. I think that's somewhat interesting. They did, get something off of Brett Matthews. He's been lights out. Putting Goins in for the save in the 9th is a fascinating choice. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I think I'm leaning Fargo currently.
I could start to see it. Also, they got the Weatherby too, which is impressive.
Yeah, agreed.
But I like about tonight's though is that every time Sioux City threw a punch, it seemed like Fargo responded.
Right.
Sioux City gets one, Fargo gets it back, and they get one the third. They get 4 in the bottom. The third, they get 3 right back. And they give up 1 the 5th. Takes a while, and then 8 and 9 to get the win. But still, 3 errors they could do without.
Yeah, that's weird. I'll have to look into what kind of errors those were, but yeah, there's that, and then I think I want to say Fargo would handle Lake Country, but also it's one of those things. As an aficionado who grew up with Big East basketball, you also are a little wary of the teams that make it out of a gauntlet, and then you're in the postseason against teams who didn't really have as difficult a path, and you're just a little bit gassed. So I do worry about whoever makes it out of that division. And I had a tweet about how much better head-to-head which I was switching in my head, the West division's been versus the East head-to-head. And of course, the East absolutely rocked the West division in the All-Star game. And I do think it's a fair point to say I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again in the championship. So something to watch.
Yeah, I'm still going to put my money on whoever's coming out of the West.
I agree. I think I'm leaning Fargo over Sioux City and Fargo over Lake Country, but it's close on both counts.
So just to circle back to the poll conversation quick before we go to the final 2 leagues here. I will say, because we get this a lot, because we got a lot this week of the where's Oakland conversation.
Yeah, which Oakland's been fantastic, by the way. I've said it before. If the season ended today, I think they'd be my number 1 Pioneer League team of all time. which is impressive. Obviously.
Yeah, we got a lot of that. There's also been surprisingly large amounts of pushback on Gateway being ranked for like 3 weeks now.
There's been like one person feeling that way, and he used to play for Gateway. So let's all be wary on that.
Moreover,
that said, Gateway has not defended themselves well. Getting smashed tonight also did not help that.
Yeah, no, they're dropping next week. I can't help them anymore. But yeah, it's just like there's some real crackhead rankings going on here as far as the general whole.
Mm-hmm.
And I at least can say on my end, like I have the ballot review video, so like you can see what I'm seeing when I'm putting each one together here. But generally speaking, it's like Atlantic teams have more room to be shittier than other teams do because they have a more difficult lineup they're going through, and they should, in theory, be more talented on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then American, the Frontier, and the Pioneer. And just like the chasm between these leagues in talent disparity is present. And it's not necessarily the upper level, right? Like if you took the all-star Pioneers, they could probably hang against the Frontier and American.
As the Oakland Bowlers official account argued, they have 4 guys who got to the Atlantic League and they're all doing well. I'm like, well, yes, because they were the guys who got to the Atlantic League.
Exactly. If they weren't doing well, they'd still be Oakland Bowlers. They
would be the other 20 guys on your roster in the Atlantic League and tell me how it goes.
Exactly.
The math says you'll be a 300 team.
Exactly. And so, see, that's where the problem becomes, right? Is that. And then the secondary problem is, all right, well, even if we say top of the top of each of these leagues are equal, clearly the middle and the bottoms aren't. And you're not always playing the top of the top.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Oakland, you're not always playing Missoula. You're going to play Great Falls too.
Mm-hmm.
And without much exception, you're going to sit here and tell me that Great Falls is the same quality opponent as, say, Gary or as even the Jackals or Hagerstown? No.
Mm-hmm.
No. You put Hagerstown in any of the other leagues, they're probably closer to 500. I mean, not 500 yet, but that's just because that's a situation that's still a struggle. That's where the problem becomes, is that the whole body of work is not equal. The upper levels may be, but the whole body isn't. And being that the whole body is what's being judged, and it's just an individual champion being represented from the league, that's where the problem is.
Right. I genuinely admire the fan base of the Oakland Ballers and what they've built. That is most passionate fan base, I think, in indie ball. Most knowledgeable in many ways, but also they're very new. And I think it's hard when you have not experienced indie ball before to get the concept of what this is like, and where what you're seeing falls in things. And especially if you've only really been, anyway, I think that's it. And I've been trying to find gentle ways when talking to Oakland Ballers fans to approach them with, like, I am not dunking on the Pioneer League at all, because I think if you talk to the Pioneer League, they're going to tell you, we are not here to compete with the American Association and the Atlantic League. We are in this other niche of getting young guys and bringing them up and developing them. But I have tried to point to a couple things. One, there's the general, if you're curious, and I posted about this one as well, there is something that's called league equivalency, which is based on stats that guys have going from league to league within a short period of time. And, if you put up these numbers in the Atlantic League and these numbers in the Pioneer League, then we can kind of convert what is, how much more difficult does it seem to be? And then when you get a full basis of guys doing that, you have a pretty good thing to pull from over the years. And it is, a sizable difference. It's, the Atlantic League, it's a 1 to 100 scale where Major League Baseball is 100. And the Atlantic League is an 82 on the scale, which is, just around, a little above AA ball. And then at 78, you have the American Association. And then at 73, you have the Frontier League. And then at 69, nice, you have the Pioneer League. That is a climb. The Pioneer League was down in like the mid 60s prior in the last couple of years. I will prepare everybody that number is going to go down next year because the Pioneer League has not represented itself very well outside of Oakland this year. So be ready for that. But with that in mind, like I rank every week before I give my top 10, I rank every team. And it's worth just for consideration, right? When we talk about who it is that you're playing with against and getting results against, the Pioneer in the Pioneer League, Oakland has played Missoula 3 times and they lost that series 2 out of 3. That means when you look at my ranking, because in the bottom 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, the bottom 14 teams, 10 of them are Pioneer League teams. So Oakland has not won a series this year against a team in the top 20% of the ranking, essentially, is what you can take away from it. That's not dunking on Oakland. It is playing the schedule in front of you. But for an excellent explanation of why they don't get ranked, my Pioneer League teams don't get ranked by me, what they need to do is just it is extremely high. Yeah. And I mean, look, honestly, they are 22 in my ranking right now. I think the highest I've ever had a Pioneer League team might have been Missoula at 24 last year at a point. So they're, as I said, they're the best I've ever seen a Pioneer League team be. But it's just worth keeping in mind that if you're looking at who are the bottom 10 teams in the ranking, it is from the bottom: Pioneer, 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 Frontier, Pioneer, 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 Frontier, Pioneer, Pioneer. And you got to go up 2 more to get to Hagerstown, who is like a historically bad Atlantic League team.
That's really where the issue then becomes, right? And like, I'll say from my end, I put Missoula in the ranking last year, and I put Oakland in for one time this year when they had, I think, their 13 or 14 game straight winning stretch, and they were still in single digit losses, and it was like whatever it was, like 23-9 or something crazy like that. And it was a particularly weak week for that spot. I was like, you know what? I'm willing to give them that. But you just drop off so much quicker when you're a Pioneer League team because it's so hard to hold on to it. And almost like the best way of giving an example would be there's a reason why when you see like MAC teams or a group of 5 teams doing really, really well in football, that they never really get ranked, or they'll be stuck in like 24, 25, even though they'll have like a record of 10-1 or 10-2. And you'll see some team in like the Big Ten or the SEC that's like 7-5 be ranked 14th. Because the quality of that schedule and the quality player on that team is higher. And if you took that same, like, I don't know, Vanderbilt team that won 7 games in the SEC, and you put them in like the MAC, or you put them in the new Pac-12 or whatever, they probably win 10 games, 11 games. So it turns into that. If you took, let's take a team that we were just saying is an extremely average team in like Kleber. You move them from the American to the Frontier.
Oh,
they're probably
war crimes. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to be doing what like Quebec's doing. And we're going to be saying they're underachieving at that number. And if you put them in the Pioneer, they may genuinely not lose more than like 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I do have Oakland above them, but not by much, like for context.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. A sub 500 American team is likely the best team in 2 other leagues. And so then you want me to go ahead and rank a Pioneer League team better than, say, a team like Tri-City that's been playing very good baseball for the better part of 2 months now. It's hot. It's beating quality opponents, and I still have them at like 11, 12.
Right. And honestly, part of it too is like the Pioneer League is, as much as I said, like free pass it because Pioneer League isn't trying to compete with this. I will also point a finger at the Pioneer League a little bit because their scheduling creates an environment like this where, okay, like what did we talk about with this? Because essentially Yuba is like probably the third team that we would think of in that league from, if we were asked 10 days ago what we make of this league, I would say the number 3 team maybe better is Yuba. And now Yuba has gotten absolutely smashed by Oakland for 2 weeks. And unfortunately, because Oakland they have been doing all they can do, but they haven't played Yuba head to head before this. All that I have for them for a top team contextually is losing 2 out of 3 to Missoula. It is not teaching me as much about Oakland as it is about Yuba. I think you and I are looking at that Oakland run and going, yeah, they're a bit better than we thought, but Yuba's a lot worse than we thought.
Yeah.
And like, that's just kind of where you end up when you don't have a lot of seeing each other, because how many times do we talk about it? We go, well, this team is struggling, but they did just beat, Gateway, and they did just beat Lake Erie. So like, those are legitimate wins. And if you go back maybe they've been struggling a little bit, but like they've been beating this team who beat this team. So that kind of gives context. There's so little. I mean, we talked about it 3-4 weeks into the Pioneer League season. We're like, I don't know who's good, because we still are like, okay, you swept them. And then this team came in and swept you. Does that mean they're incredible? Or does that mean the first team you played is really bad?
Yeah. There's no way you can do transfer
time. Yeah, there's no way to really compare. And especially when you have different ballpark environments, everything, it just fully confuses things. And again, you can't change that, but it is a symptom of the whole thing.
And then when you add on the fact that you have the internal league issues that you have between whatever happened with Nilco and rumors of payroll issues elsewhere, it's like, well, how much of this is like they're not playing up to their potential, and how much of this is like, no, this is really what they are?
No, yeah, you're right.
And these are just issues you don't really have in the other 3. Like, yeah, there's operational problems with teams in each of the other 3. No doubt about
But it's
that.
not the bulk of the league, seemingly.
It's that, and it's also normally not to the same extent. Right? Like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but I don't think any of the other teams in the other 3 leagues are in danger of missing payroll. There's like one or two.
I'll say that. Yeah.
There's one or two where I'm like
potentially a quarter of the league. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's certainly not a widespread thing. So that's part of the issue.
Right.
And it's not fair to them to be ranked off of that, but it's playing a role in all of it. And like, at the end of the day, you're judged on how you look, who you beat, and what your record is. And whatever hinders that, it hinders it. So
yeah. When we talk about your play schedule in front of you, that is both a positive and a negative. So, again, I am not, this is a whole thing. This is all the explanation of, if you see rankings and like, why is my team not in it? It's nothing personal.
Yeah,
it is. We are comparing mid majors to the SEC type of thing a lot of the time. And that doesn't mean the mid majors aren't going to make it in, but it just means the bar is high.
Yeah. And you could just kind of see how much everybody values different leagues and different teams by just swiping over and looking at how everybody voted.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because, our third voter, at times I'm like, we all vote differently, but like he votes so differently. And I'm like, but part of me has come around to like, I'm okay with some teams getting some representation through his votes.
Yeah.
That kind of can get it. But the part where I'm not okay is when people are like, well, he voted for it. I'm like, well, he votes off of like overall record. And, you can't pick your schedule. And we vote off of, we know you can't pick your schedule. Anyway, your schedule's terrible.
Exactly. Like, see, it's almost like the difference of like, he's going, they have the best overall record. Who cares if they're in the MAC or if they're in the ACC or if they're in the SEC? And our more separation is like, you focus more on like, these two are like the Big Ten and SEC of this thing, and they're clearly better leagues. So like I'm more forgiving on the record there, and I'm more like, look, the Big Four are the Big Four here. I'm going to give an ACC and or Big 12 team some love if I can.
Right. Now, I also think there's an interesting aspect, and it's kind of a in a weird way, a fun reminder. This is only half relevant, but it is a fun reminder to me of like just how much I shouldn't take for granted how much you and I have learned just by being around. Because so I'm in that Pioneer League Fantasy League, by first place still, by the way, just absolutely cruising right now. I mean, bro, I'm at a point where I'm signing free agents based on their playoff matchups for me. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm feeling good, but I help with their stats. You get a trophy. I hope I do. Well, I think we're playing for Oakland season tickets.
That makes this even fun.
Yeah, thrilled. So we have a charity out in Oakland. We'll connect hopefully. So anyway, but I've been, because it takes a long time to do the stats when you're doing a league by hand. I've been doing the stats side. He's and the guy running it who works with Oakland has been doing the roster side. So we divide and conquer like that. And there's been a couple of things where he's like, oh yeah, like I just kind of been figuring out like how the rosters work, because it's like his first full year with Oakland, I believe. And I was like, oh my God, that's right. Like I can see a guy get like labeled as inactive or something, and I know that if he's a fielder, like that guy probably ain't coming back. I know if he's a pitcher, he'll probably be back in 3 days. Like, cause they, you know, the roster churn of pitching staffs, like weird things like that. And then it occurs to me, like, that's why, you know, it's one thing to say, yeah, Quebec's on a weird run right now, but you know, he's our guy in the rankings is, you know, still putting Quebec at number 1. I have them down at number 8. You have them unranked. And I think the difference is because the record is still very good on Quebec, but you and I know the warning sign that is a couple bad weeks because of how quickly things can go sideways in indie ball. Like a couple of bad weeks could be nothing, but a couple of bad weeks could be your roster is not the same as it was and you're not able to repair it.
And it's who you're losing to on top of that. It's like,
oh yeah.
And it's not even just the losses. It's the way you're playing games where it's like you needed, like this team is this much better than everybody else, but you only beat Brockton by 2 runs.
Yeah, I mean there is that aspect too, and that's actually a good example too, because I think this is the part of the Oakland issue as well with Quebec for me is Quebec only has so many games against teams who could really reasonably compete with them. And when Quebec beats Brockton, I go, yeah, you better. When they beat Trois-Rivières, I say, you better. Even Sussex, when Sussex is on its game, I still am kind of like, well, we'll see what Sussex is. But when they play Tri-City 12 times and lose 8 out of 12, and they lose a bunch of them sort of in a block of time, not only is it me going, okay, Tri-City is pretty good, but also Quebec, you only have so many show me games to prove where you belong in the ranking, and you're dropping those. And that's why, like, for me, I was like, dude, Quebec's barely clinging into the rankings this week. They'll bounce back a little bit if they keep this, if they stay hot and can continue to bury Ottawa. But like, yeah, man, like it's weird intricacies with like trying to rank teams in different leagues like this. Which is actually why I look forward to Mondays, because it's fun.
And continuing on, just as Quebec is the example there, for me, why they're kind of unranked at the moment is, again, they were losing to teams they should be beating, and those games were, the wins weren't blowout wins like you'd expect in that situation. The third thing that worked against them was they're notorious to start slow because they're figuring out what they're going to do, and they do their same routine of like, we're not bringing our ringers in yet. We'll bring them in July, like end of July, beginning of August, so that way they get some games to work themselves into shape, and then they'll hit their stride right in time. So I'm more forgiving of that early on because I know what Quebec is off of the experience of doing this for forever. And just like, okay, so like they'll start slow. That means like I won't rank them like at 4 or 5, but they'll be sitting 6, 7 for more often than not. It'll be tougher for them to fall out, that kind of a thing. And then they started doing the routine where they got good again. I was like, okay, now I feel fine putting them top 3. I don't think I ever put them higher than 3. I think I've pretty much been High Point York or High Point Sioux City the whole year. 1 week I had York at 1, but pretty much that's what it's been. And now that you're going to struggle again at this point in the year, it's like, well, you kind of burned the goodwill. You burned the second chance I was giving you now. And I understand like this could very well again be the like, all right, control this flow of energy right now. Let's save it for when it matters because we have this pretty well in hand. I get that. But as we're seeing with York and my ranking on it, you can only do that so long before you kind of like force my hand into saying like, no, you're not a top 10 team right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. And there is, I sometimes get the question of, well, this team lost to this team and my favorite team lost to this team. Why did they get punished? And a lot of time, dude, it's because I've seen a lot of that other team and they have a better track record. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but in my opinion, like it doesn't make a ton of sense at first, but like what happened last year becomes relevant, which is if there is a track record of like, yeah, there's a bit of a lull mid-season or a slow start or whatever, or we know that this team, for whatever reason, like they've been competitive for a year or two and now they're looking bad. We know if they've been competitive for a year or two, it's more likely that they'll return, other than a team who is competitive for the first time in a long time. And we're still trying to figure out if that's an aberration or not. So I don't know. We probably beat this to death, but
yeah, like I only have
just because we've gotten so much recent feedback.
Exactly. And it seems like we're starting to get more traction,
which is good.
So I feel like putting it out there is a good way to just kind of be like, hey, so when you see this, understand this part.
It's a good time with new people being exposed to it to kind of give some thoughts.
Yeah. And like the only other thing I will say on it, there's also points where, and Schaumburg was a key example this week, where I'll look at it and go, none of you deserve to be top 3 because none of you are playing like a top 3 team, but somebody has to fill those spots. So I'm willing to give more leeway to teams that have held it for longer because it's like, you've proven more to me to this point. Like, again, for this week was a perfect example of, I had about 8 teams that I was like, yeah, you could be ranked anywhere from like 5 to 10. And I just don't have the spots for that. And for the teams that are supposed to be 1 through 4, I was like, I have maybe 3. And so someone was going to go in a spot they didn't belong in. And someone was going to get probably screwed. Like I said, Tri-City or New York reasonably could have been ranked probably anywhere from 7 to 10. But I just like head to head against these other teams, I don't think they're better than them.
Yeah.
And so they got kind of screwed. They could have easily been the 10 team. I mean, realistically, are they any better or worse than Gateway? No. They're on the same level. They should probably, judging off the results from the week, Tri-City probably should have gotten over Gateway. But at that point, it was like, hey, look, I have a limited number of spots for a lot of teams, and I'm not going to put someone that really doesn't belong in an upper spot where they belong. So Monday's going to be fun. Yeah.
It's going to be still a lot of series to watch for the weekend too. So
yeah, definitely. So on that note, get back to playoff races. These ones are pretty much
a little more simple.
Yeah. We have Pioneer and Atlantic left. We'll hit the Pioneer League fairly quickly because the Atlantic League has a little bit more legs on it. 28 games left in the Pioneer League. Oakland, Missoula still lead. And for the second half, they're also leaders in the first half. So that means we have 2 wild cards at the moment.
And a good race for them. I mean,
there's definitely a lot of teams that are still in the hunt there.
I mean, for clarity, as of now, it's Missoula and a half game behind them. It's Ogden and a tie with Boise for the final wildcard spot. 2 games back of them is Yuba Sutter, and then 3 games behind Yuba is Rocky Mountain. I think that's kind of where we'll end the considerations there. I will point out once again, Rocky Mountain is being brutally exposed here as a team that can't compete, but we'll deal with that later. I'm not going to drop the I told you so. I'm just going to, not on you. Obviously, I just took some heat for not appreciating Rocky Mountain appropriately. And they finally got a big series in Missoula. Missoula has absolutely handled business. Not super emphatically at all times, but the wins are the wins. So, let's see. So basically it's just going to come down to, can anybody catch Missoula and Oakland. Boise and Yuba are I'm sorry, hold on, backing up. Ogden is 3 games off of Missoula, and then Glacier and Idaho Falls are hanging around. I don't see any of those teams catching Missoula unless they really take their foot off the gas, which Missoula is known to do late. I mean, they've finished some seasons out less impressively. I also, by the way, all this talk about Oakland as they're 17-5 right now, and we're ignoring the fact that Missoula's 15-6. So there's the game behind them in the loss column. So Missoula is also cooking right now. I mean, again, who are we playing? But Missoula's played a harder schedule. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I mean, because of Oakland's location, they play a lot of games against the sort of Colorado contingency, which is Rocky Mountain, who's been a mess, Colorado Springs, Grand Junction. The Montana teams have not been great, but Missoula's playing a lot more games with like Idaho Falls and them. So, yeah, anyway, that is, I don't think anybody's going to catch them. So do you think the wild card is the thing to watch? But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think the wild card really is the way it's going to have to go here. I do wish they'd simplify the wild card process, though. I think that's something that'd be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a straightforward like, oh, we'll go to best overall record or the next 2 teams up and whatever half it might be. But yeah, I don't really love any team outside the top 2 here. Like Oakland and Missoula are just so clearly better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that it kind of makes it uninteresting, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when a team like Yuba, where we were expecting a lot out of them and they've just fallen really flat as of late.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a tough scene too. I mean, when you have a worse record than Great Falls, you really got to start taking some stock.
I'll also say the frustrating thing right now with the Pioneer League is, boy, do I hate a short series, because like I feel like every year one of the top teams gets clipped in the first round, and it just never feels quite deserved. It's not like it's not upset. You're like, all right, I guess weird result, but sure. And like, I'm looking at this Idaho Falls, Ogden, Boise crowd, like, and Yuba to an extent, but I think Yuba is actually a better case still for a potential playoff run. But Idaho Falls, Ogden, and Boise, I'm like, which one of you are going to like take out Missoula or Oakland in the first round? And we're going to be like robbed of the Missoula Oakland matchup in the championship.
It always winds up being Missoula that gets kind of
hosed, which that's a different, that's a bigger conversation.
Yeah. So
if it happens again this year, it's a
conversation.
Right? Yeah.
That's 3 years in a row.
Right.
That's a pattern. But yeah, I always struggle with the Pioneer League because I don't watch as much of them, both because of the flow thing and because, time zones.
Mm-hmm.
So I always struggle to talk too much about it. But yeah, it just feels like we have a clear 2-horse race here that we're all rooting for to be the final.
Well, lucky for you that you have a podcast with, the best fantasy manager in the Pioneer League right now.
I know. I really am. I'm truly
honored and lucky. # blessed, frankly.
# made it.
The real question is my winning percentage better than Oakland's? I don't believe it is. That sucks.
The 2 leagues I don't really watch much of. I have the guy that started the Atlantic League and is a fanatic about that, and he just happens to be the foremost authority on the Pioneer League when it comes to fantasy drafts.
Hooray! Where's that on your resume?
Really lucked out there. # he gets us.
So stupid.
Okay, the Atlantic League. Yes. 36 games left there. Mm-hmm. Long Island and Lexington currently lead the divisions, each by half game over Lancaster and Gastonia, respectively. York and High Point are already in. They won the first half. Should we need a wild card? Long Island's currently the leader, followed by Southern Maryland, 4 games back of Long Island. Lancaster's 4.5 back. Lexington 5 back. Tuesday, Sunday series is going to be very interesting to watch. Is Gastonia at Lexington, because Gastonia's come on very hot as of late, but you look at who they're beating, and it's a bunch of Fugazi teams. So it's like, are they actually good because they've won a lot of games? Or is it like you're kicking the crap out of Southern Maryland and Hagerstown, so like, and Charleston? So like, okay. That's the question right now. Are they for real or are they Fugazi? And like, we're going to try to find an answer to that question via the Lexington Legends, another team that we still firmly believe are more Fugazi than anything.
Yeah, I mean,
who's the imposter? All of them.
I mean, here's my thing, right? Lexington made it to clutch time for the second half in a row, right? Where they're holding first place, and then all right, like
technically they're now in second
against some teams. Well, and then they get to High Point, they drop 2 out of 3. I mean, well, okay, hold on, they won 4 out of 6 against High Point. That's right, so 6-game series. Then they go to Staten Island, lose 2 out of 3. Now York gets them for 1. It's like, I don't know. I just have no faith in that team, man. Boy, is Gastonia hot in the street right now, man. That is a dangerous team.
Like, yes, but also I
know they're not beating a lot of competitive teams. I understand that, but I also think the eye test is a bit better with them.
Because the stat boy is going eye test now for his team.
No. So actually, that's misleading because my eye tested stats. So because I was looking at it and I was like, yeah, they're losing games. But all the stats have been like, this team should be winning games. Like, I think even like their Pythag in the first half was like 500 and they were nowhere near it. So like they were losing a lot of games they should have been winning. So you figure either they are legitimately just, they suck and they find ways to lose, or they're just a better team than this and they're going to get it. I think playing Gastonia helps. I know this Lexington thing, I think it's going to be sort of the like who is the fraud type series. And what's going to drive me? Do you know what is going to drive me absolutely insane from this, which I can surely guarantee is going to happen, is going to be it, because this is the way it goes. Gastonia will take like 5 of 6 from Lexington and we'll go, well, that solves that. And then they'll get swept by Southern Maryland next. And we'll be like, what? Damn it. Like, it's just because everything's a nightmare.
What's going to continue to happen is they're going to play Lexington for however many games, 6, I think it is.
Yep.
And they're going to split it even with 3-3. And they're going to continue to beat up on like Southern Maryland and whatnot. And we're going to continue to have this back and forth.
Yeah. And of course, they don't play High Point again, I don't think, down the stretch. Yeah, they don't. Now, Lexington plays High Point a bunch.
They do play Long Island, so that is interesting.
True. Long Island, you might notice, talk about the ranking, I put them at number 1 this week.
I thought that was a little while to go 1. I forget where
they haven't played great competition either, but like they keep winning. So I'm like, well, here we go.
It's winning. Like, they're a decent quality overall team, and what's in front of them is not great right now.
And they're adding. I like the fact they put Antonini back on after he was probably their best player last year. They brought him in. Like, they're ready to make a run.
Getting back to the Ducks, we know and kind of hate.
It's gonna age like milk though when they get swept by High Point in like 2 weeks when they play, 3 weeks when they play. I'm like, well, I'm dumb.
It'll age worse when they get swept by York. York starts to come on.
Yeah, honestly, I'm ready for York to start throwing. I would not be surprised if this Lexington series is like the wake up on York, and we're like, well,
it better and the way we go. They're about to drop out of the ranking if they don't.
I know that's what they think about for sure.
And that's the real motivation. That's what keeps Rick Forney up at night,
isn't it? Though, it is interesting. I mean, talk about we're putting High Point and York way up there, but York and Long Island have the same record, and Long Island's just 3 games back of High Point for the overall record for the season. So, I mean, so to say like, well, we'll see about Long Island is to sort of indicate that Long Island sucked in the first half, and they were 35-28.
It was really the start from Long Island that was bad.
Boy, yeah, that was a mess.
And so it kind of taints the vision, at least in my eyes.
I mean, they were 2-6 to start the year, and then they kind of started cruising from there. If you remove the 2-6 start, they have a better record than every team in the league, or win percentage, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, that brings their overall record to 51-32. Damn. All right. Here's my thing, because I have a point on my hatred of the 2-half system again.
Okay.
So we're running into a thing, and I think if you're new to the party on 2-half system, again, how it works is you do your first half, and whoever wins the first half in each division makes it to the playoffs, and then you do the second half, and whoever wins the divisions again gets in. But if the same team wins a division, the wild card is chosen from the best overall record from both halves. So you could have up to 2 wild cards, right? Here is where I run into issues with all this. The Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, okay? The Southern Maryland Blue Crabs have the 4th best record overall right now in the league. They are 4th in the South Division. They end their season with, it's not their last series, but it's their second last series, with 6 games against the High Point Rockers. There is a real possibility that it will benefit Southern Maryland at the end of this season to lose to High Point, to help High Point win the second half and create a wild card spot that Southern Maryland is now the holder of. And basically they can lose their way into a new wild card spot being created, which belongs to them. I'm putting on everyone's radar now early on. I don't think it will happen. I think luckily we'll avoid the situation because there is, in order for that to line up, I think the teams who would have to move around would affect how the standings set up for the overall. So I think it would be a little bit too close for that to happen. Like I think in order for that to be the case, like Lexington or Lancaster would move into the overall standings picture. But it is so reasonably possible that it just needs to be said again. And that is why, because there's a lot of two half system arguments of, well, every once in a while, one of the teams with the best overall record, actually almost all the time. I feel like every year there's a team who, if we just said we take the top 4 overall teams, there's a team that doesn't make it. Usually it's High Point somehow. And then the other argument is like, well, they sucked in the second half. How can you just phone in for the year? Both valid arguments. I get it. But my number one thing is every 4 or 5 years, you run into a situation where feasibly it helps a team to lose games at the end of the season. And that drives me insane. I believe it happened 2 years ago and the team seemed to decide to not phone it in. And I think it worked out where it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the team that they were competing against won out and it was fine. But it was like, frustrating. It was frustrating.
Don't forget the third possible scenario in all of this, which is if Southern Maryland's in a position where if they win, High Point doesn't get the division, and thus the wild card becomes irrelevant. But if they lose, so High Point could win the division, they'd lose the wild card itself, which would, in theory, right, mean if it were to be rained out and not made up, so the game doesn't happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is one. I do think the league pays attention to that. The league is very on it when it comes to making up rain dates. Because there was an issue a few years ago where it was, and you might even remember this better than me, where someone made the playoffs because someone else didn't make up like 3 games or something silly. And after that, Long Island got hosed, if I remember right. And then Long Island was like, we're going to make up games now. And it was like that. I think that was how it went. Yeah. But it is something to watch that I think a few years ago, because I'll put out usually playoff odds as it comes down the stretch and like the just, straight percentage on win probabilities to make the playoffs. And I bounced a team from it. I was like, they're out. And I got 10 messages immediately. I'm trying to remember who it was. It could have been High Point. It might have been Southern Maryland, if I'm honest, about like, no, because there's the wild card. And I had to explain, like, in order for the wild card to exist, they would have to lose so many games that they would no longer have the wild card. And it was like in real time breaking it to like fans and also a couple players that like, no, you think you still are in the race. You literally cannot win it. And it was like a really weird interaction. There's been a few years where I've told people they want a playoff spot. And just because the Atlantic League, they do a little better now, but like back then they were really bad with like being on top of it and thinking the secondary math of technically they can get caught, but the team they're playing, like the things that would have to happen.
Way for it to go.
Yes, exactly. And like the other team's already eliminated essentially. And that's always a weird one where you're like, you have to DM a guy to be like, hey, you're in the playoffs, by the way. I haven't seen a champagne on your story.
I think we've covered a decent amount of ground for the week.
Yeah, we have.
We're in a good spot to leave it off at. We're back into
the whole thing.
We're back to the straight up talking ball time frame now, which is always nice.
The boys right here yucking ball, baby.
Ain't that great? We're back just talking ball. Why don't you do your plugs and then we'll get out of here?
Speaking of talking ball, got a new, I guess we'll call it series starting early next week. Going to be recapping kind of like old school how I used to do it. Basically, I have a new job, so I need to get some damn videos actually posting and put a structure to it. So I'm going to start with what I know, which is how I started things, which is recapping baseball games. So got some weekly things coming out. They're going to recap sort of the action around every league, and I think it's going to be fun. And it's going to be a bunch of work, but I'm going to place it on Sunday and Monday mostly, like the work. So, that should actually time out with my schedule. So keep an eye out for something. Hesitantly calling it stacking scorecards, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the name of it. So just keep an eye out.
Indie Ball Pod, Twitter, Indie Ball Report, everywhere else. I'll have something up sometime soon.
Love that.
Yeah. We're real motivated. Until next time, don't forget to play ball.